All right, good morning, scientists. So here we are today. Your job is to go ahead and finish the vocabulary today. So you got the vocabulary part 2. Use the Quizlet to get that done. Don't try to make a shortcut and try to look them up and I'm gonna end up with the wrong definitions by Googling them. Use the Quizlet that I already did for you. There's pictures on there that you could use to kind of help make sense of the things. You could also find all the definitions there. Now when you go to the Quizlet, it might let you look at part of it and then it asks you to sign in. If you need to sign in to set up an account on Quizlet, it's free. Go ahead, set up an account. You'll need an email address. If you want, use your parents' email address or something, and then go ahead and set that up. It's free. So we'll probably have some other things on Quizlet. If not, you'll use it again next year, I'm sure, as well. So that's the only job there is to do today. The next thing is the answers to the remediation. So some of you, a lot of you already finished the remediation. Actually, a lot of you didn't have to do the remediation because you did pretty well on the test. So I'm going to go over some of the answers there right now that some people still struggled with. So first of all, stars, they're all made of hydrogen and helium. Remember, fusion, you got hydrogen being fused together and turned into helium. So that's the first thing. Next thing, solar flares. Solar flares, how they affect the Earth. We get lots of different radiation interfering with communications on Earth. So for example, if there's a large solar flare, that might disrupt internet communications if you're sending and receiving messages over great distances. Our satellite communications would be interrupted as well. So those are a few things that would be affected by solar flares. A solar prominence, on the other hand, is a big loop of flame, a big loop of energy that goes from one side of a sunspot to another. So that's all affected by the sun's magnetic field. Apparent magnitude and luminosity. Luminosity is the actual brightness of a star as if it was standard distance from the Earth. Whereas apparent magnitude is the brightness of a star as it appears from Earth. So that's the difference between the two. Next thing is how stars are classified. They're classified by their temperature and their brightness. Those are the two things that determine a star's brightness. The next thing is the apparent magnitude. Is that, again, is what we call the brightness of a star as seen from Earth. And after that, the colors of stars determine their temperature. So red stars are not very hot compared to other stars, and the blue stars are the hottest of the hot stars. So if you see a blue star, that is going to be the hottest. Red stars, quite a bit cooler than the blue ones. Also, if they increase in temperature, generally they increase in brightness, unless their size is much smaller. If you have a really large star and it's not that bright, it's going to be a different temperature, different brightness. Another point there, we have red giant stars. They're of course going to be cooler than our sun, but they are much larger. So because they're much larger, they're much brighter. And the last one, if you wanted to easily figure out the temperature of a star, just look at its color. If you know the color of a star, you know its temperature. So that's always easy to figure out. I had one of my students was playing around with a 3D printer this past week, so they've been home and printing some stuff. And Ryan H., he made this, and it's a little space shuttle blasting off. So he made this with his 3D printer with some gold-colored plastic. So the way a 3D printer works is it prints out very thin layers of plastic, one layer at a time, just like a printer might print layers of ink on paper. Here it's printing layers of plastic, one on top of another, and it made this model of the space shuttle blasting off. So pretty cool. So I saw him around the neighborhood and he had dropped this off earlier. So pretty cool thing. When we get to the space exploration unit, we'll be talking more about this space shuttle and a lot of the other spacecraft they use these days. One other thing that he made too was this puzzle here. I took this all apart last night, but it's a puzzle where it's all mazed and you gotta kind of pull it apart, and there's a whole bunch of layers in it. It's pretty cool. I had fun taking this apart last night while I was watching some TV and stuck a prize in there. So again, thanks Ryan. So cool stuff. If you wanna know more about 3D printing, ask Ryan. He's the expert on that. Today, finish your vocabulary. I just went over all the answers to the remediation, so the remediation's done. If you didn't do it by now, you've had plenty of opportunity. That's it. So we're starting to wrap this unit up. Next week we have a study guide that's gonna kind of wrap everything up. Then we got the test on this unit, and then we're gonna get into the solar system and about the Earth, Sun, and Moon. So that's what next week's videos will be about. All right, so until then, stay curious. All right, again, inbox me if you have any questions.